everybody. Welcome back. This time we're at Odette. It seems like this has been going on for quite some time. We started way back in March. Was that like 472 days ago? When I interviewed Danielle Sereau, our winemaker at Cave. My name's Sandra Roberts. I'm Director of Sales for Cave, PlumpJack, and Odette. And I'm so excited today. We have a celebrity guest down from San Francisco, or I should say up from San Francisco. Our chef at the Balboa Cafe. He doesn't like to be called Chef Goran, so we're just going to call him Goran. Welcome to Odette.
Nice to be here.
We have a special dish at Balboa that we only make, well, I don't know how often you make it, but we only serve it one day a week.
One day a week.
And not Chef. Goran told us that he would show us how to make it today. So I'm super excited to welcome you here to Odette.
Nice to be here.
Give us some background. Where are you from?
Well, Goran, born and raised in Macedonia, a small town called Štip. Came to the States the first time May 19th of 2010.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So not so long ago.
Not too long ago. Landed at JFK at 4:20 in the afternoon, and ever since that day, pretty much the rest is history.
Whoa. So what brought you to JFK at 4:20 in the afternoon?
A thing that was kind of a trend in Macedonia at that time was everybody was doing the whole work and travel. My sister did it, I had friends that did it, and my roommates and I were like, well, why don't we just go and try it? So it was a whole ordeal. We went through job fairs and finally got jobs. We got jobs at a beautiful resort on the East Coast, Ocean Edge Resort and Golf Club on Cape Cod.
Oh.
And granted, at that time, I was not doing what I'm doing today. I was a front office person, I was a reservationist, a rooms coordinator, you name it. I did quite a bit.
You went from running the front of a hotel to chefing?
Correct.
How'd that happen?
I'll blame my wife for it. She was the one that let me loose in her kitchen at the resort we worked at in Colorado, and she needed a bread baker. Her league had quit, and she was like, I need somebody to help bake bread, and I was like, all right, here we go.
Well, if someone asked me that, I'd say, I have no idea how to bake bread. How could you just raise your hand and say, I got this?
Well, the fun part about where I come from is within, it's a family business. There is a bakery. So it's about 185 years old. It's been in the same building forever.
So your family business just happened to be a bakery?
Just happened to be a bakery.
Sounds like fake to me. What do y'all think?
Kind of fun. So I started working with her, and, I kind of, swiftly forgot about my front of house career completely. And here we are 5 years later. I am running one of the, nicer, world-famous cafes in San Francisco.
Heck yeah. Well, what happened between Cape Cod, Macedonia, and San Francisco? Did you come straight from Massachusetts, or?
No. So what I did is I did the foreign exchange from 2004 till 2014, and then I went back home because I needed to graduate college. Fun story, Chef did not graduate from a culinary school. I graduated English language and literature. Fun story. So I studied to be a translator and a teacher. My degree is serving me very well right now. We're speaking English, so there's that.
That is, and your English is perfect.
Thank you.
And your accent is perfect.
It kind of went away after a few months in the States. I had a little bit of a, kind of Russian accent
Right,
to the whole 9 yards. And
I mean, I grew up in Mississippi, and I still haven't gotten rid of my accent, they say.
If you ask whenever I'm with company and I get comfortable and all that good stuff, she goes, you sound like you're from Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
From New York. So, but, I went back home, I graduated college, and I kind of did not know what to do with myself. I had a job,
Mm-hmm.
The usual, whatever 24-year-old,
Sure.
living life in Macedonia does.
Sure.
And I just, didn't see myself living there, for kind of the rest of my life. So I found a certification program for basically international tourism and hospitality management out of Los Angeles. So I signed up for it, flew to LA, did 4 months of studying, and then did an internship in Colorado. And that's where I met my wife. The resort I worked out there, I was training to be basically what you would say a general manager of one of their restaurants. But, so as fate would have it, I started working with her. And then basically, since we had to get married and all that, she couldn't be my boss anymore.
Well, wait, is that actually true?
Kind of is.
She couldn't be your boss anymore?
Oh, well, we're not going to get into
I'm
this.
just saying. I'm just saying.
But, then they, within the resort, they started running the catering and basically went from just normal catering cook to their lead, to their sous chef, to the banquet chef, and then, I joined PlumpJack and helped them open 2 restaurants in Vail, Colorado after that.
Oh, sure.
Yep, and
Yeah.
then they brought me out here to help out with Balboa, and, here we are almost 4 years later.
So did you have to learn to make this recipe, or was it?
It was
taught to
kind
you?
of, and I came on board, and funny enough, I started on a Wednesday. So I just witnessed how everything was done, and now throughout the 3 years, we've adjusted the recipe a little bit just to make it a little more higher end. We're using higher end ingredients, so you can say I've put my touch to the way this entire spiel is made, but essentially it is the same that it's been ever since it went on the menu.
I cannot wait to try it. Where do you start?
So first things first, we start with chicken breast. For us, what we do is we use chicken breast sourced locally. It's called Campfire Meats out of Riverbank, also California. So we use their chicken breast. For the Balboa experience, we use an 8-ounce chicken breast.
Wow.
So it's a substantial amount of meat. And we're going to take it out of the container, but what we're going to do is we're going to want to clean it first. So you want to get rid of any excess fat, any cartilage, all that good stuff that is on there that will kind of impair flavor ultimately. So the way we're going to do this is flip it over. Basically, the cartilage is usually closest to the wishbone area. So this one is actually fairly clean. Flip it over. You want to get rid of this little bit of fat right here, and we clean that out at Balboa as well. And you do that for pretty much every chicken breast. Now this is the area that I'm saying. So this will be a very chewy area. So we just completely cut that off, and you can do the same thing at home. And then double check both sides, and right here we'll go ahead and just clean this off completely. And for us, we turn around and we can further process this at the restaurant and turn around and use it when we make stocks and all that good stuff. So you can use that at home as well. You don't have to throw it away because it's sacrilege.
I agree. I learned there's a Japanese term for the distaste of waste that I learned about yesterday, and I think that's a great ethic.
It is, and for us, it's very important to utilize every ingredient. Say, back in the day, there used to be a chicken dish on the menu, and what we would have to do is just break down the entire chicken. Now, if I was in Macedonia 5 years ago, not doing what I'm doing right now, I would save the majority of it. I was like, I'd eat what I want to eat, and then everything would go in the trash. But nowadays, and it's a culture that started in the culinary world. Not too long ago, you use everything on there, and you can turn around and reuse it multiple times. You can make chicken stock out of the bones, you roast them, and then whatever meat's left over, you pick it, you can use it in your stock, you can use it for salads, you can use it for whatever you would like. And you can turn around and turn the chicken stock into a very nice sauce. What we do is turn it into chicken jus, and then that's a sauce that goes on multiple dishes. But back to this. So we're gonna put this aside for now. So at home, if you don't have plastic wrap, so what I've done here is this is a Ziploc bag. So what we did with the Ziploc bag is basically we cut the top end where you would usually close
Where
it.
you zip it.
And and then you just split it down the middle. And then this is kind of how you can make it at home. Now the key thing to this is to make it as thin as possible. So you get a meat tenderizer. If you don't have one at home, wink wink nudge nudge, you can use a wine bottle, or you can you can use a rolling pin. You can use whatever you have at home. Now the fun part is the chicken breast has two sides to it. So when you're doing this, you want to flip it over and basically look at the side that connects to the chicken, and that's where you want to start tenderizing, because this area is really tough. So when you apply any form of force to it, it'll break the meat, it'll ruin it, and kind of ruin the entire dish. So it's about to get loud. We're gonna go ahead and tenderize this as thin as we possibly can. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use one of these guys, and we're gonna put it. We're gonna reserve it, put it off to the side, and you can repeat the
Now
same.
it doesn't have to be even the whole way.
No, because
Okay.
you're ultimately gonna cook it, and then let's do this one. We'll do one more.
Right, because there's two of us.
Oh yes.
I'm not sharing.
And you can take your time with this. You're not necessarily on any form of time crunch in order to make this happen. You can do it at home, you can do it at your leisure, and the fun part is you can have your chicken breast, ready the night before, and then you can leave it in your fridge, and then it's ready to go. And when you come home tomorrow, you don't have to make this big of a mess. You can cook this for friends and family.
That was awesome. That's a great trick with the Ziploc.
Oh yeah, and you can use any other household bag that, if you don't have a Ziploc bag, or if you don't have clear wrap, you don't necessarily need to go out and buy it. When you're out in the wild and you need to do something like this, you use just a normal grocery bag.
Oh, wow.
A little guerrilla cooking.
I like it.
You're making this, you don't want to apply too much force when you're tenderizing the meat, because if you do go with a little extra force, you will break your meat. I'll kind of demonstrate on this part right here. So basically what I've done with the previous one is all gentle force. If you do go and you start hitting it, you'll break your meat. So you want to take your time. So, there's no rush to get this done anytime soon.
Now, I was going to say, you made that look a little bit easier than it probably is.
It's actually fairly easy to make it at home. You just take your time. And it's not necessarily very difficult to do, even at home. Like, I recently had, he's now my lead in the kitchen. His name is Martin. So I recently had him start working on this, and he did the same exact thing. He wanted to get it done.
He broke it.
He wanted to get it done fast, and just goes all ham with the meat tenderizer, and 12 chicken breasts in, he started picking them up, and they would just disintegrate on the board. I was like, "What'd you do?" He's like, "Well, I did what you told me to." I was like, "How much force did you use?" He goes, "Well."
Maybe he was having a bad day.
I was like, "Well, this is one way you can get your frustrations out." But and then he started laughing.
Pound gently. Pound gently, young man.
Pound very gently. Now, obviously we're doing this recipe, but we're not going to disclose any quantities of the ingredients that we're going to do today. Obviously the recipe has to stay secret. So what we're kind of going to do with the people that are, have tuned in live, write down the ingredients that we're going to use, and make it at home, and then turn around, tag Balboa Cafe on Instagram, and share your story at home, how you made it, and see, come to Balboa, have it if you can, and then turn around and say, "You know what, I made mine better."
Oh, that sounds like a challenge.
There you go. Now,
If I knew about measurements, I would tell y'all. I'm just saying.
But we use, it's quite a simple dish to make. You obviously have your chicken. Now we're gonna turn around and make the breading for it. and it's actually fairly easy. It doesn't consist of that many ingredients. We have cornstarch, AP flour, salt, Parmesan, and panko
What's
breadcrumbs.
AP flour?
All-purpose flour.
Okay,
So cornstarch in.
it's about this much.
It's about yay much. Then we're going to do our flour. Now obviously we're not going to put that much salt in it.
Now, chef, every time I go to a restaurant, I think salt's what makes it taste good. Is that a secret chef's?
Not
Trick.
necessarily, but you know, salt makes everything better. But you can always add salt. You can't take salt out.
Good point. And with the Parmesan that you're about to add, does that also make it a little salty?
Yes, it does add to the flavor. Put that there, and then we're gonna get our panko breadcrumbs. Now this is the fun part. You know, you can mix this with your hands. You can mix this with. You can put it in a mixing bowl. You can use a whisk. You can use a spoon, or just like I am, just go ahead and use your hands. And what you want to do is you want to mix this thoroughly. So you want to make sure that all of these ingredients are blended together, because you know you don't want one part of your chicken breast when you're breading it to get more panko than you know the other.
Sure.
So equal distribution of all the flavors through here.
Yeah.
So this is now mixed. Now people are probably gonna ask, well, how do you make it stick? So
I was going to ask that.
the easiest way to do that is, you know, you grab some eggs, whole eggs. What we've done here is basically we have a quart container. You can use any form of to-go container that you can seal at your home. What we do is basically you can break the eggs in here, and all you do is literally just shake it vigorously, and you make your egg wash.
So that's just one whole eggs.
Yeah, whole eggs. This is about 10 of them in here.
Okay.
Oh, I gave away a number.
10 eggs, y'all. 10 eggs.
So, and then what we're going to do is basically we have our chicken breast here. So, what I'm going to do is just going to pour the eggs
Oh, right on top.
in this container right here.
Uh-huh.
For us, we do this quite fast. One person is tenderizing meat, the other person is literally ready with these two separate, you know, right next to the person that's working through this. So what you want to do is you want to soak it in the egg fairly generously. Like, don't be, and you know, this is a recipe that is kind of designed to be a little messy, and it's fine. Just don't make too big of a mess in your kitchen. Now, once it's
I've never heard a chef say that.
well, if you ask my mom,
So you said your grandfather was a baker?
my great-grandfather started the bakery business, and then it was my grandfather and my dad and my uncle. And like, you know, I'm probably the only person that decided to kind of go away from that, at least from home country, and do it somewhere.
But they
somewhere else.
obviously gave you the recipe so that you could cook. What?
No, the recipe is still a very big secret. My dad will not let me have it.
You're kidding.
At least not yet.
You have hope though.
Maybe one day.
All right.
Maybe one day.
Do we have a question from Instagram?
We have a question from Facebook. Sydney Kruger is going to be taking up your challenge and cooking this later on tonight and watching the recording. And she wants to know about the cornstarch decision. Why cornstarch?
Crisp.
And okay.
Chris?
Kind of like with when you make tempura and you use rice flour, it adds an extra layer of crispy, and it helps when you cook it.
That's probably one of the secrets, isn't it? Cornstarch.
Sure. Sure.
Is that like what, you know, when I grew up we had catfish and they'd use cornmeal.
Cornmeal.
Same thing?
Yeah,
Same idea?
crunchy.
Yeah.
So when you're doing this, obviously I'm wiping my hands, but what you can do at home is have this be your wet hand, so it goes into the wet ingredients, and this be your dry hand. So you're basically not having to wipe your hand nonstop.
I feel like that's advanced.
You can do that. Anybody can do that. Anybody can do that. So
That looks so good already.
obviously we're getting this done, and in the meantime, I'm going to turn the pan on and kind of get it hot. We're going to leave that there, and then one more. We're going to
Now I
cook.
noticed you didn't put any pepper in there.
No pepper.
Really?
No pepper.
Why's that?
It's just you know, it helps with the flavor, but we put pepper on the salad that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And surprisingly, I'm probably the first and last person that's going to say this, but I personally, besides my burger and my steaks, on anything else, if I can not use pepper,
Is that right?
Yeah.
Why is that?
So a long time ago, right as I was starting to cook, I ended up making a very good mistake in the kitchen and decided to use American smoked pepper on something. And we put it on a hot plancha, and what that did is burn the pepper. So the flavor intensified, but not in a very good fashion. So
Gotcha.
it tasted pretty god awful. So ever since that day, I'm kind of weary and cautious on how much pepper I use.
So it
But
makes sense.
when I have to use pepper, say for white meats, I
Mhm.
use white pepper very sparingly.
Okay.
And then for any form of gamier meats, then I use a mixture of peppercorns. So I'll give out that secret: equal parts of pink peppercorns, green peppercorns, pink peppercorns, and I put a Szechuan peppercorn in there as well. So mix all those in, and then it'll offer a completely different flavor profile to everything that you're doing.
Just a one-dimensional.
Just
black
a
pepper.
one-dimensional
Yeah,
black pepper.
makes sense.
Now the key part in that is toast all your pepper.
What?
Toast it. It gets rid of some of the it activates some of the oils that are in there.
You just do that in a pan?
You do that in a pan over low heat, and then you're golden.
I'm gonna do that when I get home.
Done. So the way we do this at Balboa is we use a generous amount of California olive oil. So we're gonna let the olive oil get a little warm, not too hot, and you use a generous amount. You're essentially frying this.
Sure.
It's kind of like when you're doing, you know, with fish,
Yeah.
or you know, you're making a schnitzel or
Right,
anything
sure,
like
sure.
that. We're gonna put this right here.
Well, and that's a good question too, Goran. How is this different from a schnitzel, really?
You can look at it, you know, several ways, but it is.
Is it because of the cheese?
It's you know, chicken schnitzel.
Yeah.
It's clean up a little bit. And when I said, if you ask my mom, the first time I ever started cooking home, my mom kicked me out because I made too big of a mess.
Well, every chef I know is used to having people help with the cleaning.
Yeah, not if you ask my mother.
Good. It's a good mama.
Good mama.
Can you call her when you get home and tell her I said good job?
I shall. It's what is it?
Well, it might
It
be
is
too
right
late.
now 11:25
Okay,
p.m.
tomorrow.
I'll call her tomorrow morning. So we'll let the oil get you know, warm, and then you know, like I said, the key thing is use a generous amount.
With olive oil, though, I understood it did not have a super high heating, and that it could burn. Is that wrong? Do I have it totally wrong?
No, but at the same time, what we use is essentially it's 60% olive oil, and the rest of it is avocado oil, grapeseed oil, and sunflower oil. So it's a blend,
Gotcha.
and it has we use it for any form of cooking on the line.
Yeah.
And the fun part is it has a higher smoke.
Gotcha.
So you know,
Gotcha.
it'll cook. So while that's going, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna drop that in there and let it slowly get to where it needs to get. I think we can fit 2 pieces in here. And then obviously for everyone that's kind of afraid to do this at home, use tongs. I use my hands as much
use
as I possibly
tongs.
can.
Definitely.
You know, it'll help you. Obviously, I'm not going to turn around and, you know, do that once this is, you know, fully hot.
Sure.
But, you know, you use it to flip it, and you flip it once. So you let it cook until you basically see that the edges are starting to get golden brown,
Okay.
and then you flip it over, and then you finish cooking that way.
All right.
So while this is doing its thing, what you can do is you can prepare your salad. So what we're going to use is, since we're in this world of to-go business right now, we're using grape tomatoes. They're slightly smaller
Yeah.
than the cherry tomatoes that you would usually find on our menu, you know, that we serve with this. And then we use wild arugula.
Oh, I love it. Well, that's a little spicy too.
That
isn't
is a
it?
little spicy, and you know, it'll pair. Oh, we didn't talk about the wine.
Well, we will. Don't worry.
Eventually.
Oh, we will.
So,
Well.
fun part for this, you know, you make your salad. You can do a generous amount. You can do this way ahead of time. because the dressing is actually fairly simple. We use basically a little bit of oil. We use these grape tomatoes, and then we turn around and do a fresh squeeze of lemon juice, and we do pepper and a little bit of salt, and that's pretty much it.
Really?
That's all you do.
Now, I have a question about frying. Would you normally heat that oil up first and then drop it in? Or
Not too much, because when you drop it in at a very high temperature, it'll automatically start burning the breading.
Okay.
So, you know, the breading will be nice and crisp and it'll cook, but at the same time, it'll be raw on the inside.
That is a great tip.
You know, it's kind of like with root vegetables. Say you're making mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
What you want to start doing is, because it's so dense, you want to start with cold water first.
Yes.
So, and then once it reaches a boil, then you add your seasoning and your salt and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm a potato expert, being half German. Yes, Facebook.
We have a couple questions. What are your thoughts on olive oil versus butter?
butter will burn. It'll burn because of the fats that it has in there. Clarified butter, on the other hand, is a completely different story. That you can cook in, and we do use clarified butter, say when we cook fish, or when we cook our roasted chicken, or any form of dish that requires cooking in the pan. So that's what we use at the restaurant. Clarified butter, because it doesn't have the dairy solids in there, and it won't burn.
These are great tips. The oil is a great tip. I had never knew that. Never would have put that together. And look, it's starting to go now.
It's slowly starting to go. And then, you always want to keep an eye out. You don't want to just set it and forget it, because it's just going to turn into a complete mess and disaster. It'll burn, it'll dry out, because you've already tenderized it, you've already broken the structure of the meat. So you don't want to do that to this. So.
And do you have an idea about how long it takes typically?
So for us at the restaurant, we don't use, this is an induction burner, and we use an induction pan here. Usually we use a steel pan and open flame, so it gets hotter twice as fast.
Yeah.
And usually for us, it's ready in 7 minutes.
Wow.
So, and at home, you don't want to get oil hot at all, because it's going to create a completely different world of pain if you miss it. So a little bit of that in there.
Next question.
Going back to cutting the chicken, preparing the chicken, how thin do you want the chicken?
So it's basically a personal preference. What you can do is basically you can pound it down to a 1/4 inch, or even thinner if you can get it without completely breaking apart. But for me, I like the chicken a little thicker, and that's how I've basically instructed the staff at Balboa to do it as well.
So 1/4 inch.
1/4 inch is ideal, and it'll cook faster then.
Well, that looks so good. Are y'all getting these colors? Fresh red tomatoes and rocket. Don't they call it rocket?
They do. The first time I ever went to Macedonia, Macedonia is now it is a culinary destination as well.
Is that right?
Yeah, because we're landlocked.
Yes.
So we're Mediterranean climate, a lot of fresh ingredients over the summer, and a lot of heartier foods in the winter. Now, what Macedonia has done is, granted, they've adopted a lot of the cuisine from basically whatever we have around us, but now they've started this. It's basically a movement where they're using as many fresh ingredients as possible.
Interesting.
So, that's what they do. And when I went home 2-3 years ago, we sat in a restaurant and I read the translation rocket. And rocket? Like, why would you call it rocket? And then, started reading on translations from Macedonia. It's you can transcribe it, or then I came to figure out that the British call it rocket. So now this is starting to sizzle.
Yep.
So you can start, basically hear the oil starting to do its thing. So as soon as these edges right here start getting golden brown, we'll flip it over and then we'll kind of finish cooking. Now, at home, don't be afraid to move it around. you know, when you're moving it around, you're letting the oil get underneath.
Yep.
So you can cook it that way.
Yep. That
And
makes
then,
sense. You don't want it mushy in the middle.
People are probably going to ask, well, what about all this oil and all that? That's fine. It'll cook off, and once you flip it over, it'll
Sure.
become nice and crispy.
So when I was on the Dalmatian coast, which is not that far, right?
No.
From Macedonia, they talked a lot about being dominated by the Romans or invaded by the Romans over and over and over again. And y'all have such an Italian influence. Is that also in Macedonia?
So Macedonia was under the Ottoman Empire for years and years and years. So a lot of the, say, food that we do over the course of the winter, the heartier dishes,
Sure.
are adopted from that time.
Uh-huh.
You know, they've evolved over the course of the years. But say, you know, I remember, you know, in the wintertime we would have musaga, which is essentially what they do in Turkey. And, you know, with me doing what I'm doing right now is I started doing a lot of correlation of flavors from Macedonia to how they do it elsewhere in the world.
Right.
And, you know, granted, almost all of my staff is from South America. So we started doing a comparison on what flavors we have in Macedonia and what they do, say, in Yucatan. So we do pork and beans.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. We do a shank, a smoked shank with beans. You know, we typically use white beans, but if you go to South America, they use black beans.
Right.
So flavor profile, everything was pretty much the same. And we started making stuffed peppers.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
the way my mom does them is literally rice, vegetables, ground meat. We use ground pork instead of ground
Yep.
beef.
Yep.
So, and then we cook them in tomato sauce. Turn around, you go to Honduras, they make it the same way.
Yeah.
So a lot of these dishes, they're very similar, and that's why I like cooking South American cuisine.
Well, and
along
just to
with
be
this.
in an international city, and I think the more you travel and the more you visit and the more places you go, the more you realize we're all pretty much the same.
You can
And
say
cooking
that
with
way.
things that are local and finding things that are super fresh.
Yep.
I think that's really neat and important, and watching these flavors fuse together.
Absolutely. And, you know, what we're doing at Balboa right now is I love cooking that type of cuisine. And we're bringing some of the Mediterranean, you know, flair that I'm from
Sure.
Macedonia, and we're marrying with South American. We're not cooking Latin food. I don't want everyone to misunderstand me that
Yeah,
way, but
yeah.
the flavors are inspired from there. And that's, you know, in the last menu that we did, that's exactly what we did.
Love
You know,
it.
we had a pork chop with some beans. You know, we had we took some southern elements, we did grits, and then we did a pork belly along with it. So, you know, we married a lot of cultures.
Yeah,
So
love it.
So,
Love it.
as you can see-
San Francisco is such an international city.
it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, my sous chef, his name's Curtis, he traveled Europe for about 5 years cooking. Now, the fun part is, you know, he came from Kansas.
Right.
From small town.
Right.
Kansas. And he's like, I love it here. Diversity, cuisine that I've always wanted to have. And, you know, it's the same for me.
Yeah.
So let's get back to this here. So you're seeing this kind of
Oh,
crisp up
yes.
right here. So we're gonna let it go just a little bit longer, and then we're gonna flip it over. You know, you can see that color
Yes,
starting
yes.
to. And what you can do is, obviously, the middle of the pan is gonna be your hottest point. So what I'm gonna do is basically just
Turn them. Yep.
turn them around,
Done. Like a mattress.
pretty much, and then let this edge get nice and crispy, and then we'll do the flip that way.
Yep. Makes sense.
And then, you know, we'll talk about the sauce that we serve this with, and then,
What's in here, chef? I mean, not chef. Goran. He does not like to be called chef. That's why.
so we use a high quality Marsala wine to make our sauce. Has amazing flavors to it.
This makes a lot of sense now with why we're pairing what we're pairing.
What we're pairing. And then in the sauce, it's 3 simple ingredients. It's we turn chicken stock into chicken jus. For everybody in their house that's going to do this, they can use any form of chicken broth.
Yeah.
Just don't use too many milliliters or a generous amount. We're going to use very little because this is basically a concentrated flavor.
Makes sense.
And then butter and salt. That's all you're using. You know, and the key is in the butter.
Always.
Always. and you want as much, it's all a matter of personal preference.
I mean, this does seem like a lot of butter.
It is a lot of butter. And the key thing is...
Which means it's going to be really big.
It's going to be really big.
Yeah.
So the key thing is, when you're making this stuff, it's kind of like making a beurre blanc, which is a butter sauce, right?
Yeah.
So the key thing is, you want all your other ingredients nice and hot, but you want the butter to be ice cold. Obviously for us, it's going to sit here at room temperature, so it's not necessarily very cold.
Yeah.
But, it'll help when you're making the sauce.
Okay.
If you don't want to fiddle using whisks and all that good stuff, what you can do is you can use a blender. If any French chef hears me give you this advice, they will likely want to kill me.
We won't tell them.
But, if you're in a pinch and you need to make the sauce fast, and you're worried about, oh my god, the sauce is going to break and this and that, just don't worry about it. Take these two ingredients, cook the alcohol off, 5 minutes the most, add this, bring it to a boil, reduce it to a simmer, and cook it like that so the flavors marry for about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Take it off the heat, pour it into a food processor or blender, and then start adding butter until your sauce starts to thicken. That's it.
Got it.
That's it.
Okay. This is amazing. These
So
are amazing
it's,
tips. So this is marsala.
that's marsala wine. Chicken jus.
Butter.
Just a little longer.
We talk about the wine? Well, it's the crazy pairing, right? Well, that's what we've been doing lately, right? Crazy pairing. And I think this is the reason why it's such a good one. It's the sauce. When you think about wine and food pairing, a lot of people are talking about mirroring flavors in the dish or contrasting flavors in the dish. And I think what makes this PlumpJack Merlot so cool with this is the Parmesan cheese, right?
Yes. Red wine and cheese.
It's a pretty rich dish, although it's chicken. And then, of course, always, when I think about pairing wine, what's the sauce? What's the whiz part of the dish? And this butter marsala sauce is really the reason. It's really the thing that ties all this together with our PlumpJack Merlot. Now, if you try to go buy our PlumpJack Merlot right now, can't. It's not for sale. You can't find it out in the world. And I'm really proud of the reason why. The reason why PlumpJack Merlot is not available right now is because we did not make a Merlot in 2017. Anybody know why? We're such rhetorical, because I can't hear y'all. But we had fires. We had fires in 2017, and the one vineyard that our Merlot grows in, I remember passing by it. It literally looked like a smoke bowl. And so Aaron Miller, our winemaker at PlumpJack, he made the Merlot, and he tried his best to make that wine rock, and couldn't. It was ruined by the time it came into our cellar. And unfortunately, we couldn't put our name on it. But honestly, when I think about it, I would say fortunately, we chose not to put our name on that wine because it wasn't worthy of you. We're not going to put our name on something that won't make you happy, ultimately. So we went a year without PlumpJack Merlot, and I get calls all the time. Why didn't you make Merlot? I want Merlot. And I'm so excited to tell you that if you're watching right now, you can order it on our link, and it will be officially released a bit early tomorrow. And our partner, who's been such a good supporter of us, Mastro's Restaurant Group, is going to feature this on Father's Day for takeout and as part of their meals to honor you dads out there. And if that's not enough, next week, Aaron Miller himself, winemaker, also happens to be a pretty big grill man, and he's going to make a burger. It's one of the classic combinations with this PlumpJack Merlot for a number of reasons, and I won't get too geeky, but one of them is we use about 10% American oak. The rest is French oak. But that American oak, I always describe it as redwood silk. It makes a big impact, just a little bit. A little bit of smoke, a little bit of char. It's almost like the outside of a burger on the grill. So I would recommend get your Merlot, tune in next week, and let's make a burger together. And I think it'll be a very, very good day for y'all if you do. Anyway, back to you, Chef.
So while you were talking about the wine. You can come in closer and kind of see. So this is nice golden brown right now. We did flip it. So we're gonna let that process repeat itself on the other side of the chicken breast. Now, when you're doing this at home, what you could also do is, you know, if you're worried about all the oils and all that good stuff, get a couple of paper towels. When you're taking this out of the pan,
Yeah.
there will be oil that's going to be residual.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is put it on top of some paper towels, you know, any form of paper towel, you know, go to Costco, get paper towels.
Yeah, yeah.
Put it on there, you know, it'll soak up the oil. The crisp will not go away. Don't worry about that.
Perfect.
And then basically you serve it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. So while this process continues, what we're going to do on one of those plates, we're going to take our a little bit of our salad, and we're going to basically just do a little salad. And what we do at Balboa is we also serve it with a couple of lemon wedges off to the side. And the reason why we do that is, you know, people like to add a little more
Oh,
lemon.
yeah. I'm one of those people.
There you go. We'll add a little bit of lemon to that.
A bit of arugula. Just the arugula. It's simple.
It's you know, when I first started at Balboa, it was quite interesting because I was like, when the chef at that point, you know, asked me, he goes, what else would you change to it? I was like, I'd add dressing to the salad. And then, you know, obviously we added a fresh squeeze of lemon juice in there. But he's like, why not just keep it simple? Get a little more on that opposite side. Now, well, that, you know, at that point, I was like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense to me. And now, with the way that we're doing it, yes, it does. So, while you're doing this at home, obviously you guys have teeth. So, you know, avoid cutting the center. So what you can do is basically you go off to this side, and then you cut away from the seeds, and then you have clear juice. If you have any of that, you can just go ahead and get rid of it, and then do that on the opposite end. And then if you want, you can keep that whole. You can cut it in quarters, but we're just going to go ahead and put that over here, and then when it's ready for us to use, we'll turn around and use it. And then, you know, while you're cooking this, if you're wondering, oh my God, when is it ready? Grab your knife, stick it, and if you have any form of resistance, that means your meat's still raw.
Okay.
And then, don't be afraid, take it off the pan, put it on a cutting board, go ahead, and, you know, just do it, you know, a little slit. Split it open.
So it's not like a steak where you need to let it rest or anything.
No, you don't need to worry about that. Now, this is almost ready. You know, we're getting those nice colors on the bottom. We're going to repeat the same process. We're going to flip it around. This one's almost done. And voila. So while that's being done, then we'll turn around and prepare the sauce. Now, breading on, you know, it'll lock all the flavors inside and will lock the steam. Until you make your sauce, you don't have to, oh my God, it's going to get cold.
Okay,
You don't have to necessarily worry about that. So what we're going to do is, until we make the sauce, we're going to take this, we're going to put it on we're going to put it on the cutting board right here, and then we'll plate it, and then we're going to turn around and make the sauce, which is, you know, a lot of people at, say, Balboa Cafe, they don't like it as a traditional burger. It's like nice and thick and buttery, so they like the sauce a little boosted. It's almost like a very gravy.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, when you're at Balboa, if you choose, you can get this with mashed potatoes too. And the arugula and the marsala sauce. So what I do say when I get home, even though, you know, I like a thick butter sauce,
Yeah.
what I do is literally take my mashed potatoes, put them in a bowl, create a little divot in the middle, pour the sauce all over, put the chicken on top, salad on the side, and that's how I eat it.
Oh, that sounds like a good time.
And, you know, for me, I turn around and eat one by myself, and I am done. I am
Sure.
full.
Yeah.
There are people that, and this, you know, when I saw this, it amazed me. Gentleman comes in, he goes, I want 2 chicken paillards, and then I want you to make a sandwich out of them. But what I want you to do is, on top of one, I want you to put caramelized onions, bacon, egg, and then put the other one on top, put the sauce on the side, and mashed potatoes. I kid you not, he ate all of it.
Stop it.
He ate all of it. That is 2 8-ounce pieces of meat,
Wow.
16 ounces of meat, and then the egg, and then everything else. And then I tried it, and guess what happens in Chef? He adds, I don't do the 2 of them, but I turn around and do the same exact thing when I'm at home. And it's a pretty good combo. So this is all nice and crispy.
Oh, that looks amazing.
So we're gonna put this right here
Now, if you were at home, you put that
on a
paper
piece
towel?
on a piece of paper towel. And then what you want to do is with the oil, don't turn around and pour it down your drain. That's a very bad idea.
Yeah.
What you can do is you can recycle this for any form of other frying you want to do. All you have to do is just let it get cold.
Yeah.
Put it off to the side. If you're doing this on your range and you have a burner that's not active, just turn around and put it on the side of your burner. Let it fully get cold, and then strain it and then use it. You can fry whatever. Granted, it is going to taste like chicken.
Right, sure.
But
Sure.
you can turn around and use it for anything. What my wife and I do is we strain it and we put it in the cooler, and it's fine for a week.
Sure.
And then we turn around and reuse it.
Well, people use chicken stock for all kinds of things. Why wouldn't you use that?
Absolutely. So we're gonna turn around and make the sauce now.
Okay.
We're gonna turn that on. First things first, add your wine,
Okay.
your Marsala wine. The reason why you want to add your Marsala
Now,
wine
does
first.
it matter? Does it have to be super high end, or it could be any grocery store?
You can
wine?
go to Safeway and you can buy a $9 bottle of Marsala,
Okay.
and you'll be just fine.
Okay.
Um,
So cookie marsala. We don't need to go there.
You don't need to, go to
Europe.
Bevmo or Europe and try and find the best Marsala out there. It's a very simple sauce, and this entire dish is actually rather cheap to make. You can get a full box of arugula from Safeway for $5,
Yeah.
baby and organic on top of that.
Yeah.
Chicken breast you can buy literally for $3 a pound. That's also cheap. Lemons, you don't have to buy the full bag unless you like drinking lemon water, for your dinner party.
Mm-hmm.
Butter, also cheap. So this entire dish for 4 people will
It's
maybe cost you
affordable.
about- It is very affordable.
What
It
do
is
we have a
very
question from Facebook?
Yes, Sarah wants to know, for a gluten-free option, which gluten-free flour would you recommend?
You can go to Safeway. I don't remember the name, but you can use a gluten-free flour or turn around and use rice flour instead.
Would that make it even more crispy? Could
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
And it'll cook easier and it'll
Mhm.
cook faster, so you might need to finish it up in the oven. But
Oh,
you can
okay.
use any form of gluten-free flour that you can find at Safeway, or if you go to a restaurant supply store or a specialty store, you can buy it from there. That's also another option
Good
that
to
you
know.
can look at.
Good to know.
Now, while you're cooking this, you want to bring it to a simmer and cook it for about 5 minutes. You want to cook off the alcohol from it. Now, if you really don't want to do that, then you don't have to. But it'll just mellow out the flavor if the alcohol is cooked off. Now, if you're doing this over open flame, I highly suggest you don't in a household, because this thing catches fire. It's almost like brulee or flambe, not brulee. It'll catch fire. Now,
Okay.
with this being an induction burner, that won't happen, and you can set it to a simmer,
Yeah.
and then you can do that. And you add your chicken jus, your butter, and then you start making your sauce and all that good stuff. Now, while this is cooking and reducing, what I'm going to do is basically add a little bit of salt, because the hotter the ingredient gets, the more the salt develops,
Okay.
and the less you have to add after the fact.
Ooh, that's smart. That's
So-
good to know.
Yeah, that is starting to simmer, so we're going to simmer for about 5 minutes. Feel free to just move it around a little bit. We have a whisk, so what we're going to do is basically move it around with the whisk a little bit. Help it along the way, and it'll simmer. The alcohol will cook off pretty fast.
Yeah.
For us, what we do is make this by the gallon,
Wow.
quite literally, several
I
gallons.
bet it's good for your French fries too.
If you're making a poutine, maybe a little bit. Just
Hello, our
don't-
friends at Canada.
Don't sell that secret. Question.
Yes, Facebook.
Jennifer wants to know, we want to touch back on the butter situation.
Butter.
Salted butter or unsalted? Do you recommend any butter, i.e. European style, etc., or just regular old butter?
If you really want to get fancy, you can use European Plugra butter. It's absolutely amazing.
Salted or unsalted?
Unsalted, because you want to add your salt later.
Wanna
to the
control
flavor.
your salt.
You want to control your salt because, like I said, the more the salt cooks, I learned that one from one of my chefs who came from this area. He was in California for a long time and then went to Colorado. So when he started teaching me how to make sauces, saucier, he's like, add salt a little bit now, let it develop, and then you finish seasoning out.
That totally makes sense. I've learned so much.
And then you can use just regular old butter, and it won't hurt. At Balbo, we use sweet cream butter. We get it through our regular purveyors, and you can find sweet cream butter. The Safeway brand is called Lucerne, and I might have butchered that completely.
I think that's right.
They make a sweet cream butter that's unsalted. You can use that.
Nice.
Easy enough.
So better butter, better sauce?
Oh yeah.
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 Like anything really, right?
Pretty much.
Better grapes, better Merlot.
All the butter.
I have to tell you this story about Aaron. I was really needing the Merlot, and I kept asking him, Aaron, is it ready? Is it ready? Can you just send it out early? And typically this is what he does to me. Sandra, it's not ready. But this time, I always ask, because I'm a salesperson and that's my job. This time he said, okay. And that's why we're releasing it so early. Typically it's not available until July. So, do you have a glass yet?
I do.
You enjoyed any? I mean, I've been making sure it was okay before.
Oh, it's
I
very
didn't want you to suffer.
It's very tasty. It's extremely tasty here. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
This is amazing.
Now I say all the time, Merlot's kind of gotten a bad rap ever since that movie. Some of y'all saw that movie, and it was kind of like the joke that the wine world didn't get, or the broad world didn't get, because the fella who was bad mouthing Merlot in Sideways, his favorite wine, the wine that he held on to at the end of the night, was Cheval Blanc, which is typically a blend of Merlot and Cab Franc, ironically. And ever since that movie, it was the joke that wasn't gotten. People thought Merlot was inferior, and yet, still, today, one of the most expensive wines in the world is Merlot-based, Chateau Petrus. So, it's a delicious wine. What I love about this Merlot, it's grown in the Oaknall region of Napa Valley. It's on the Mayacamas side, which is mostly seafloor that's been pushed up. So you get a lot of great acidity, really red fruits, and then of course Aaron uses his secret ingredient, is 10% American oak, gives him that a little bit smoky char, along with 90% French oak, which is really luxurious, layers of flavor. It's got great texture. Makes my mouth water, just like this chicken.
Mm-hmm. That's almost ready. So we're cooking this.
Oh, it's
So
simmering.
I already added the chicken jus to it, so we're letting those flavors marry.
Okay.
So what you want to do when you're cooking at home, basically from the entire volume that you're going to get, reduce it by half.
Okay.
That'll give it plenty of time to cook off the alcohol.
Yeah.
And it'll reduce, and the wine, the sugars, all that will start burning off, and it'll basically turn it into a syrup almost.
And then you add the butter.
And then you add the butter, so that will also help. Now, I wish we had a food processor here for me to basically show everybody, but one thing, the velocity itself of the blade will also add air to it.
Sure.
So say when you're making this versus what you're going to see when you're making it with an actual food processor, the two colors will be different because you're not putting as much air in when you're doing it this way.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
So,
Depending how fast you whip it.
also true, but you don't want to sprain your wrist either. So we're gonna
Only
start.
at Devo. Just kidding.
So we're gonna start adding chunks of butter to this, and you can be generous. You can start off with a lot first, and then slowly add chunks to it, and then just sit here and whisk, and have a glass of wine so you don't get bored.
Maybe some music.
Upbeat,
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
upbeat.
Kind of like making a roux.
Almost without flour.
Yeah. That takes a lot of patience.
So the first shift I ever did when I started working with my wife, I needed to make lemon curd for a catering event. And you make lemon curd at home and you can have it done in 20 minutes. I had to make about a 14-quart pot.
Whoa.
And
That's a big pot.
Yeah, let me tell you about the pain I was in
Oh,
after the
yeah.
fact. And everybody's like, "Have you had enough yet?" I'm like, No? What else do you have? And then they had me scoop about 350 cookies.
Oh.
And I was like, all right, I'm done for the day. I want to go home. I want to go home. So we're going to add a little more butter to this.
Oh, it looks good.
And then whatever you're doing with the sauce, salad, taste it. Taste for salt.
Sure.
Or, you know, if it's not enough, you can always add salt after the fact. But with this, say for us, when it gets made, we have to taste it because, you know, we make so much of it, and we go through, say, the case we get, it has 6.5 liter bottles.
Wow.
So that is quite a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah, that's quite a lot of Marsala wine that we go through.
Sure. Now, is Macedonia known for any wine? I know Croatia makes wine.
Surprisingly, my brother-in-law is a winemaker.
Is that right?
He is, and we have some grapes that are indigenous to Macedonia. That
Is it like Slavic Mali, like Croatia, or something different?
Something different. Climate in Croatia being closer to water is
Yeah.
a completely different story. So, say for where my hometown is, the climate's a little drier, and you know, you get a different variety of grape. And Macedonia is known for, you know, a variety of grapes. One that you kind of can't get here, it's called Granets, and I mean, it makes delicious.
Is it white wine? White wine?
Red.
Red wine.
Red. And you know, he makes quite a lot, and you know, they do exports, even in Croatia. So his wine is really good. Not because he's my brother-in-law, you know, far from it, Nicola, sorry, but his wine is really good. They also have an array, you know, of red wines, dessert wines. I don't know if he still does the port and a dessert Moscato, but you know, he has a red dessert wine. It's just absolutely outrageous. It's think of it as an extremely high-end note of Jägermeister. It has all those flavors to it, but it's not like if you're drinking Jaeger and it burns the inside
Right.
and all that. So
You're not doing shots of it.
no, it is very sippable, and you know, I had a bottle of it and I saved it for so long, and then you know, I decided to finish it up. But we also do use all those grapes to make a local drink. It's called rakia. So flavor profile, it's very similar to what you would say grappa is. You know, flavor profile, smell, and all that is actually very, very, very similar to it. And it's, you know, we age it as well. You can choose to either do glass aging, or you can just pop a little oak, just basically a little stick. And then, you know,
round it out a little bit.
basically, and you know, we had some for my sister's wedding and our wedding in Macedonia. My grandfather had made 2 batches. First year was 1986, and then the second year was the year I was born, 1989.
Wow.
So we had that at the wedding, and it's not, you know.
Was there a lot of dancing after?
There was a lot of dancing, and a lot of people couldn't get up after that.
We don't judge that part.
No. So this is almost ready. What I'm going to do is add a little more salt to it,
Okay.
just to finish it up, and then we're ready to, you know,
Ooh, I'm excited.
put it on the plate.
Bring the plates closer to you.
Call that done. And then you can choose to be very fancy on how you plate this out.
Okay.
You can cut it on the bias and then basically, you know, do it like that. At Balboa, what we usually do is literally grab it, pop it on the plate, sauce on top, garnish with a little more Parmesan after the fact, some fiend herbs, and that's pretty much
Let's see it.
what you get. So, we're going to do this.
Oh, that looks so good.
Nice, crispy, so it's been sitting on the board for how long at this point?
I mean,
Another 5-10 minutes?
at least.
So, and
I've heard it crisp.
and it's still nice, nice and crispy. So, and then, you know, for your guests at home, you can turn around and have this be in a little pour, and then your guests can put as much of it as they want.
Sure.
For us, we're just gonna go and be generous.
That looks delicious.
And, you know, you can never have too much of this.
I agree with you. I think we agree on a lot.
We have a question about what this smells like.
Deliciousness.
It smells like heaven.
And there we go.
Butter and chicken and Parmesan and
And then save
red
some of the
fruit.
Parmesan, unlike I did, and put it all in the breading. You can shave a little fresh Parmesan on top. Or if you have, you can buy grated Parmesan out of any store as well.
Yeah.
If you really don't want to invest into extremely expensive Parmesan, if you really want to go on the cheap end, you can buy the grated packets of Parmesan. It's literally a shaker bottle with a green top. I don't remember the name. You can buy it at any
I
Safeway
say go for the good Parmesan.
and just go.
Dude, get the good Parm. Makes all the difference.
Oh, that's yours.
Oh my God. Give me the big one. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Any questions before we sign off? Yes.
We had one last question from Jennifer. She would like you to explain the difference between chicken jus and chicken stock. More
That's a good
concentrated?
Yeah, so the way to get chicken jus is basically you take your chicken stock that you've made and reduce it basically until it starts changing color and thickens.
Mm-hmm.
So basically you're reducing it down
Mm-hmm.
and then the flavor becomes a lot more concentrated.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and say you have to use chicken stock versus chicken broth. Chicken broth is clear, so you can't necessarily reduce it. But with the chicken stock, a lot more flavor is in
Yeah.
there, and then you reduce it. And then once everything starts cooking down, that's how you
Yep.
get all the rest
Makes
of your
sense.
flavors. And then with that, we also season it. And I'll give you a little secret. What we do is we make the chicken stock, and then we take garlic, a lot of fresh herbs,
Yeah.
thyme, rosemary, shallots, garlic. We throw that in a pan, a little bit of oil, cook it off. Let the flavors develop, get the oils out from all the aromatics, and then throw some white wine in there.
Ooh.
What we do is you can use at home. You can use Chardonnay. You can use a little bit of Sauvignon Blanc.
Mm-hmm.
Throw that in there.
PlumpJack or cake.
Yes,
Either one.
absolutely.
Either one works.
And you can turn around and use that, reduce it, and then add your chicken stock to it. Promise you the flavor will be 100% different.
So I think really the secret is patience.
Yes,
Taking your time.
you have
Kind of
to.
like the secret to waiting for 18 PlumpJack Merlot was patience. Do you like that?
I did.
Honestly, y'all, thank you for tuning in. I'm so honored to be part of your kitchen, and I want to thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
driving up from San Francisco
Absolutely, pleasure's all
to
mine.
cook for us. I can't wait to try it. It was really lovely getting to know you. Do we have one more question?
We want you to taste it.
Oh,
Oh, do it on
well,
camera.
all right.
I get to have the pleasure of having this pretty much nonstop, so I'll let Sandra,
Okay.
you know, have the
I'll
honors.
do it. I'll do it. Oh boy. OMG.
All you need is some mashed potatoes, don't you?
Mm. It's so good, y'all. It is crispy. There is nothing soggy. Even though you didn't put it on paper towels.
There you go.
I'm telling you, make it at home. It'll make your heart happy. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers, Chef.